Right on. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Yeah. So our podcast is all about your guys' journey in the music industry and how you got to where you are today. Sweet. So brothers, obviously.
Yes.
Where'd you guys grow up?
We grew up on the Gulf Coast of Florida, like St. Pete, Tampa area.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that.
So that was our first taste of gigging, playing shows. It was on the beach bars up and down the coast here when I was like a freshman in high school. Kevin was still in middle school when we started playing some shows.
Wow.
And yeah, we just, we grew up loving baseball and music. And then, over time, music became less of a hobby, more of a passion. And then we started gigging locally. We really didn't know anyone in the music business. All we knew is that we loved playing shows and we loved and so for the first few years we're a local bar band, learning how to work with crowds and slowly building up a local fan base. And then fast forward to like 2018 now. Since 2018 we've been full-time touring. So
that's awesome. Well, how did you guys get into music?
I'd say, well, I think our mom put in some piano lessons when we were like 6 or 7. And the story she tells me is that one summer, like, she didn't want us to sit around all summer. So she said, all right, you guys can do like tennis, swimming, or piano. And apparently I picked piano because it was air conditioned. That's what she told me. So,
smart.
Yeah. So I'm really glad I did, because that gave me that base. And then as I grew up, music, like I said, became like, at first maybe it was a chore going to piano lessons or whatever, and then later slowly falling in love with music. And my dad showing us the Beatles and old classic rock records and stuff, and then just and then falling in love with the drums. Hearing like Ringo solo on the end on Abbey Road is like kind of what made me want to be a drummer. And then fall in love with vocals, wanted me to be a singer. And then Kevin on the guitar.
Yeah, Charlie started his own band actually. So we weren't the Ries Brothers at the time, but I was still playing baseball and traveling, the whole state of Florida playing baseball. I thought that was gonna be my life for a while, but then I saw how interested Charlie was with drumming and music and everything, and I picked up piano, and then that led to guitar from watching Jimi Hendrix play and just seeing a lot of the greatest guitar players. And then pretty soon I put down the baseball bat and picked up the guitar, and that became my life. And then we were in a few bands growing up with other players, but we're the only ones that were serious about making a full-time career. So we're like, we live together, we can practice whenever we want. Let's just start a duo. Just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And then that led to this.
Did you also do piano lessons early on, Kevin?
Yeah. We started piano around the same time, but at the time I was still big into baseball, so I didn't think much of the music. But it wasn't until I got into guitar that I really fell in love with music.
Okay. And how cool, because your brother's a drummer, so you always had somebody to jam with. I mean, that was always the hardest thing to find, was a drummer.
Absolutely, yeah. And then after that, we were like, we got guitar and drums, now we need bass. So what are we going to do? Like, we couldn't find someone who shared our passion, someone who was around our age. So what we did is, I'm a huge Doors fan, and Ray Manzarek is one of my biggest musical inspirations. So I love the fact that he played keyboard bass. That always stood out to me. So I took that concept and applied it to the drum kit. So when we started playing shows, what I do is play drums with my right hand and play keyboard bass with my left hand. I set up a little keyboard.
What?
Yeah. And that was only supposed to be temporary until we found a bassist, but like 8 years later, I'm still doing it. So
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. And then so you're playing keys and just the drums with one arm?
Yes,
like
and with vocals too.
And singing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. How did that all start? You just learn drums, and then you had to kind of learn key, like you already knew piano.
Right, that's what really
had to
helped.
kind of train yourself, like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it started out of necessity, and it's something I was fascinated in. I loved, the idea of keyboard bass, and the sound needed a bottom. And then from there, it just kind of stuck. And now as we move forward, we're eventually going to bring in some more musicians to to make it sound even bigger, but that's always going to be a part of the show is when we strip it down to just the duo and kind of do like our roots, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. What drew you guys so much to like classic rock? I know you were talking about Jimi Hendrix and the Doors and
Yeah, I
like,
guess it just yeah. I mean, let's see. Growing up, like I was born in '95. He was born in '99. So like the early 2000s, like I just didn't relate to what was on the radio at the time. It's basically what it comes down to. I just did like the top 40 of the time didn't really speak to me, and you know I didn't really have ways of discovering more underground music when I was younger. You know, so all I had was like, so I didn't relate to modern music. So, but I related to when my parents would play the classic rock stations. You know, in the car, I'm like, whoa, this is something different. Like this actually speaks to me. Why is music like this not on the top 40? And then, you know, you know, then you learn more about, you know, history of music and when music came out and stuff like that. But I was just always drawn to it. The passion in the lyrics and the melodies.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And
Some lawn work. You can go inside.
oh yeah.
oh, good. You're in Florida now? You guys still in Florida?
Sorry?
I said you guys are in Florida, right? Right now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like Clearwater, St. Pete.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all the way on the other side of the country. We're in San Diego, California.
Oh, I love San Diego. We were just there in, I guess, oh, now it feels so much longer. It would have been last September. We played a Music Box.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
That's
that was a lot of fun. Damn, that feels like such a short time ago, but it's almost a year now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you've been locked inside for like 6 months.
As long as we've been home, like, ever. Really, since we started touring, yeah.
Wow. Well, I want to go back to you guys starting to, you know, play together. So you were playing drums, Charlie, and then your brothers picked up a guitar, and you started just playing together. And then how did that turn into now we're playing, you know, multiple nights at bars in Florida?
It just, I guess, just becoming more and more fascinated into music. We just you know, we're like, we want to go out and play shows. Like, you know, it was building up that confidence to go out and play in front of people. And, you know, at first, it was just someone, a friend of my mom's was in a family who owned a local seafood restaurant, and they kind of gave us our first paying gig. And I think when we started out, we were playing like Sundays from like 1 to 5.
Yeah, in the summer.
And in the summer. And during football season, so no one was paying attention to us, you know.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know, then we built our way up, and we, you know, those were great gigs early on because they were 4 hours. We had to learn a lot of songs. We had to, you know, that allowed us to be diverse. We could play reggae songs, blues songs, classic rock covers, you know, throw in some originals. And but it really taught us how to work with the crowd and see what works and what doesn't work with the crowd, like, you know, early on. And yeah, so we're playing the Sunday afternoons, and then eventually they started giving us Saturday night slots. So we were like, oh yeah, we're moving up. Like,
Yeah.
you know, even though it's just like a local seafood place, we felt like we're doing something that's working. So let's, you know, keep at it. And then more and more people we got exposed to through there. We got more shows in the area. Then eventually we got, you know, linked up with the local performing arts center, who started giving us opening slots for touring bands that would come through, and then that gave us big stage experience. And then eventually that leads to us getting to open for Chicago.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do a Southeast tour with them, and then, you know, so
Tell me about that. How'd you get that phone call? Like, hey, we want you guys to go on the road with Chicago.
Right? So that literally came from our regular gig at this one restaurant. We played this place like over 100 times over the course of a few years, and we had a weekly gig there. And one of our regulars who would come back and see us had a friend who actually worked for the band. She was their accountant actually for the band in Chicago.
Wow.
And she was really close to their manager. So next time this next time one of our fans came, he brought her with to see us, and then she ended up passing us along to their manager, and we thought, there's no way anything's gonna happen from this, 'cause that would be crazy. And then we heard that the manager wanted to have a phone call, and it was a brief call, and he basically said, I like what you're doing, send me some music, send me some videos. And that was it. So we did, and like 2 or 3 weeks later, he basically says, all right, I'm going to give you a shot. We got a show in Orlando and a show in Atlanta coming up. Why don't you do like a 15-minute set? So we were like, flipping out. That was absolutely crazy to get asked to do that. And then, so the Atlanta show we did, and then the Atlanta show, it was us and Ario Speedwagon in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And that's one of our first times on a major stage. And it was total, like, just an awakening of what, coming from, like, the bar scene to, like, what,
Yeah.
Wow. So that was, like, your first show, aside from playing at a bar?
Right, yeah. And
oh, my God.
it was ridiculous. It was, yeah. You go backstage, all the catering is there, like, the whole, like, there's, like, semi-trucks loading in all their equipment, and Chicago's tour manager came up to us. He said, all right, you guys have 15 minutes. He's like, if you guys play 16 minutes, you'll never play with us again. All right, so
you're like, I'm going to keep it to 13 minutes.
We did, yeah. We got early that night just to be safe, and, just to learn how like professionally run these big tours are. Like, to learn that early on was such a huge tool, because now every time we go on tour as an opening act, we try to be as easy to work with as possible, as professional as possible. Stay out of the headliner's way, don't go overtime in your sound checks or your set. Like, that really taught us well early on. So driving back from that second show with them is when he sent us a text asking us for the Southeast run.
Wow.
And I to stop at the Ryman in Nashville, and it was just insane. And yeah, to have that experience early on was
For sure.
pretty awesome.
Wow. What about, like, okay, so you said that your parents would play, like, classic rock. That's how you kind of got into it, was them playing the radio stations and stuff,
Yeah.
or the Beatles, and, like, how stoked were they that did they come to the show and hang with you guys backstage? You get to meet the guys and the other bands and stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. It was very cool, because they've been, hugely supportive of us since the beginning. In the very beginning, they would be our drivers and our roadies and help us out with that.
Right.
When you were super young, and sometimes my mom would even run the merch table if we didn't have somebody that day. Like, yeah, they've been super supportive. So that was definitely a thrill for us all to be there. After we just opened for Chicago, now we all get to be there watching them, and it was just really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. That must be like, must have been such a surreal experience. It's nuts. Cool. So, okay. So you do the Chicago tour, and then from there, what was the next thing that you guys did?
So because we didn't have representation at the time, it was basically like after they asked us for one more tour the following year, just a regional tour. It was about 4 or 5 dates. But in between then, we would be, just back home working as much as we possibly could, getting more and more opportunities to open for acts when they come through here. But still, besides Chicago, we hadn't really toured that much. And basically, we were looking for representation, and we had a few, we've gone through, I'd say we had like 2 or 3 managers up to this point that we, were only with for a little while, because and we were young and looking for guidance, so some of them tried to take advantage of us, and some of us, some of them didn't have great ideas for us, so we would part ways, and still like kind of, up in the air. Then we got a few cool opportunities in 2016. We got linked up and got to tour with Butch Trucks from the Allman Brothers. That was really cool.
Wow.
Like a Southeast run with him, again, just through, mutual contacts from playing shows,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
So you got to do like 2 rad classic rock band tours, like right on the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But still, still trying to find our way in the business and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until 2017 we got linked up with our current manager, His name's David Parnes, and we're he kind of lit the fire under us, and we felt like we finally found someone who gets what we're doing, and is ready to he's like the third Ries brother, ready to go forward, and start putting out music and start hitting the road and being more professional with this thing instead of all over the place. And so since 2018, early 2018, we toured with G Love and Special Sauce.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we've gotten to know G pretty well. We've done, after that tour, we got to do 2 other runs with him. A couple of the tours we did were him solo, so we didn't have the whole band with him. So we played our set, and he'd play his acoustic set, and then for the encore, we'd get to become his backing band.
Yeah.
Oh, rad.
The 3 of us on stage, like playing like cold beverage and stuff, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Oh my God. Were you guys fans of his prior to touring with him?
That's kind of how one of the reasons, Kevin, you got into guitar is just Jack Johnson, and then that's G Love.
Yeah, the clown. What's it called?
Rodeo Clowns. Yeah.
Rodeo Clowns. Yeah.
Yes, we used to listen to G Love and Jack all the time, and that's why it was so surreal to actually tour with G.
Yeah, and I get to meet him and tour with them. Exactly. How cool! Yeah, he's such a nice guy. He was the last person I interviewed before COVID hit.
Oh, wow.
In person. Yeah, he was here in San Diego. He was playing the Belly Up, and it was interesting because like coronavirus was a thing at this point, but not everything was shut down yet, and it was to the point where before it was like stop shaking hands, and it was like fist bumps, and then it went. This was like the elbow bump days, so this is like right before. And I remember he was really being cautious, and then he ended up taking a picture with us and like being close at the end. But it was like right when it was starting to get kind of weird.
Because we were up in the Midwest right when it was, luckily we ended a tour like the week before the shutdown started to happen, but so we didn't have to cancel halfway through. But we ended up, that was our last like show is March 1st in Iowa. I was like,
oh my gosh.
It's we've done some private gigs here and there since then, so at least we got to get out a little bit. But we missed the road a lot, and just looking forward to getting back at it as soon as possible, as soon as it's safe for everybody.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was just so bizarre because at that point it was like you could tell something was about to happen, and shows would probably get shut down soon. But that was the last in-person interview we did was with Gary. He was so great. Well, okay, so you got to tour with G Love. That was amazing. What happened next from there? You obviously have done a couple runs with him, right?
Yeah, 3 as of now, yeah. And after that,
was that tour? I have a quick question. Yeah. Was that tour much different than so you do the Chicago tour, and there's like catering and you're playing stadiums, and then you toured with who was this second, Allman Brothers?
Yeah, Bush Trucks.
Oh yeah, Bush Truck. So was his tour similar to the Chicago tour, or was it scaled down much more?
Yeah, on a much smaller scale, but it was still still passionate fans for sure.
But as far as like you guys was it like how did you was it that like next level experience, you know what I mean? So you kind of go from like being at a stadium with catering and like this whole like crazy vibe to maybe G Love is playing. He's huge and dope, don't get me wrong, but he's not playing stadiums.
Yeah, so Chicago obviously was insane. Then the Butch Trucks was definitely scaled down a bunch. It was a grittier tour. It was like places weren't as nice. We were playing but we were playing like real Southern blues bars, so they had a great, cool feel to them. Yeah. But
sure.
They really didn't have the dressing rooms but we didn't mind. Obviously, we were just
right.
But then going back up, then the G Love felt like another step up from that one, so we went back up a little bit. So that was really cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
G Love, that was a great mix of small clubs, but also like beautiful theaters on the G Love run too.
Yeah, I mean, he can sell. Like, I didn't want to sell him short, but obviously, if you're comparing Chicago to
right. Exactly. And then after that first G run, we started becoming more involved in the reggae scene actually, because our music's kind of, we call it alternative rock, but it definitely is
It
reggae,
definitely has that, yeah, like that
blues influence.
reggae
Yeah.
vibe to it. Totally, yeah.
And coming from Florida, it's hard to avoid that, especially because right now, like in Florida, the music that does the best is reggae and maybe jam music.
Same here in San Diego. Reggae is like
Yeah.
the thing, man. I mean, yeah. Pepper could play every night here and they would sell out. Or same with like Slightly Stupid. Could just set up and play. They could sell 10,000 tickets every night for the end of time.
Same here. Last time they hit St. Pete, they did 11,000 in a park here. And
yeah, it's crazy.
Every week did. But yeah, so that's kind of why we fell in love with the American reggae scene, because we just really felt like it was like something about it. The people are so supportive of live music, and that seems like more so than another genre. It was just this community of people who really, they would be at every show no matter what band was coming through town, or every local show no matter what band was playing, and we really liked that community. And then it transferred over to Facebook groups. People had would talk about it at the shows and who's coming here next. So I noticed that early on, and we became a fan of a lot of these bands. So we started playing with them, even though we weren't strictly a reggae band. Our music still kind of vibed with it. So after that first G Love tour, this band Pacific Dub took us out on our first West Coast run. That was
cool.
Fall of 2018. That was our first time. Well, actually, our first time playing Cali was we got to do California Roots.
Oh wow!
That's still our favorite festival. And it was the first year of legal weed too in Cali. Yeah. And,
oh, it was. Yeah, that must have been.
Yeah.
Who headlined it the year that you played? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was Rev one night, Iration one night, and then 311 and Stupid kind of co-headline.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Is it fun playing those festivals? Like, do you get a chance to actually enjoy them at all, or?
Yeah, so sometimes we're in and out if we're routing through, but on that one, we flew in, so we had the whole weekend there, which was awesome, because that was our first time going to the festival, and because we watch the live stream every year.
Yeah.
Have parties at our house just to watch the live stream.
Do you really? That's rad.
Yeah.
Would you say that's probably the most validating tour you've guys, or validating show you played, or
definitely up there,
best favorite
for so long, and then getting to be on that lineup, and then going into the party, going into the bowl was just to see it was crazy. And then backstage they had for the artists, they had a bar and they had a weed bar. I'm like, this is
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
They had a few pre-rolled just sitting on the thing, and I'm like, oh, how much for one of these? He's like, oh, those are samples.
Yeah.
I'm like, amazing.
You're like, let me go get my backpack.
Yeah, for real.
Oh man, that's awesome. I haven't heard that one yet. I mean, it's legal. I'm here in California, but I haven't heard of them doing backstage catering of pre-rolls. That's pretty
fun. Oh, it was fantastic.
That's hilarious. Cool. So you do that festival. Obviously, they fly you out. Are you guys touring in there's only the two of you. How are you doing these tours with G Love, and did you have a van? Did you guys rent?
Yes, we've got it's a black Mercedes Sprinter we've had since 20. Yeah, we've had it for a few years now. We don't have to pull a trailer. We bought it completely empty and had a friend customized it. It's hard to sleep in it because you don't have bunks, but because the last quarter of it is customized with shelves to fit all the gear. Mm-hmm. That way we don't have to pull a trailer. But there's still 6 seats in there, so it's just us two, and then we always bring 2 crew. Mm-hmm. And yes,
it's small, a little operation. That's nice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are going to expand, looking probably next year, as shows get back at it. We're looking to bring in a couple more musicians to fill in the sound for part of the show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And you guys just finished a new record, or you're wrapping up a new record?
Be out September 18th, so it's coming up.
Tell me about the album.
Oh, we're stoked because it's been 2 years since the first one. A little over 2 years since the first one. and since we've been on the road so much, we haven't been able to get in the studio. So we just whenever we had a week off here or there, we go in the studio, get a few songs done at a time. That's why it took us so long to finish. We got to work with John in Yellow, who's done like everything Danister Jr.'s done. He's
wow.
and so I was really stoked. He totally got what we were doing, and because we worked with producers in the past that would like totally disregard us and just have their vision of what the song should be.
Sure.
I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. So John took our strengths and then helped us with our weaknesses, and that's what great producers should do. And it was a great experience working with him. It's 10 songs. We've dropped 4 singles so far. The other one just came out last week, which we have Ayaterra on that track. So we love those guys. We got to tour with them last fall, and then this winter, the last tour we did before the quarantine was with Ayaterra and Iration.
Oh wow.
That was where we were in February when this whole thing happened. Yeah, out with them.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that were you when everything shut down? You guys were on tour with Iration, and
yeah, we were like just finishing. So we got the whole tour in, like the week before everything started going crazy. So we headed, the tour ended. We headed home, and then we were about to start a Florida run, and then we were supposed to get right back at it. We were doing dates with Badfish, the Sublime tribute.
Wow.
And then we had a spring tour, another one with Iration actually. It was gonna be Iration and Hyrie and us.
Oh wow.
And then
Hyrie's from here in San Diego.
Yeah. So we were super bummed that didn't happen. So I'm really hoping that those dates just get pushed off till next year.
Yeah, and Iration's massive too. I think they have roots here too. Yeah. Do they play like you? I'm sure those are probably really big shows when you tour with Iration.
They were pretty much all theaters. I'd say, 2,000 cap would be the average on that.
Yeah.
Tour, yeah.
How is the reggae scene like in Middle America? You know what I mean? Like obviously it's massive on the coast.
Right.
It just has that coastal kind of vibe. Like when you play, in the middle of the country, how
I'm always surprised at how dope it is. Obviously, it's not as big as the coast, like you said, but
yeah, the Midwest is huge. Like Cleveland, Minneapolis. Those are all
Michigan's always been great to us.
Yeah. Really?
Even the ones that because on the winter tour we hit so many places that we'd never hit before that ended up being surprisingly great markets, like Tulsa, like Louisville.
Indianapolis was great.
Indianapolis was like one of the best.
Wow.
I'm really surprised that at the and you could tell they just felt, I guess people in those kind of areas, since a lot of tours skipped them, they felt for the music, and they just felt way more appreciative that we were there, which is a really cool vibe,
That is cool. Yeah, I always wonder because I know how big reggae is here, right. And I just didn't know if it was if it transferred the same way, like to everybody, and but that's dope.
It surprised me, yeah.
Right on. Okay, so the new record's coming out in September. Have you been promoting it like Instagram live stuff? Like how are you gonna promote it if we're stuck in the pandemic?
Yeah, doing it, everything we can as far as like you said, Instagram. Every time we put out a single, we went live and did a short little set, and with interviews like this. So thanks again for having us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And just doing what we can. Working with Silverback on this record, so which is a huge honor because, like you said, we've been fans of Slightly Stupid for years. So so they've been helping us out with getting the songs to playlists and stuff.
Rad. And
our biggest strength is our live set, and that's what we love to do. So unfortunately, we can't be out promoting it now, but as soon as they give us the green light to go out, we're gonna hit the road hard again.
Sure. Dope. Yeah. Well, hopefully sooner than later, man. Real quick, I want to comment on your Chief Wahoo behind you. Is that a Chief Wahoo bobblehead?
Oh yeah.
Respect, man. My family's from Cleveland.
Oh, nice. Yeah. My whole family's super into sports. Like my grandpa was a sports writer in Staten Island.
Oh, wow. My grandfather played on the Indians in the 40s.
No way, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, Chief Wahoo.
All fans, and everything. So.
And fittingly, I wore my Tony Gwynn T-shirt today, not knowing that you guys were huge baseball fans.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. I got one more question I want to ask. If I can see if I can get an answer from both of you guys. If you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yeah, I'd say I think we'll have similar answers, but definitely don't. There's going to be times where you're going to fail, but that's only to learn. And just keep going at it no matter what anyone says, because you have to love your music first. And there's going to be a lot of different opinions thrown out, but you just got to stay true to yourself and try to learn as many instruments as you can. I'd say that's a big one, because you never know what you're going to be good at. I just started kind of playing drums, and I've learned that there's tons of different instruments that you can get good at that you might not I've thought of trying. So just keep at it and keep learning as much as you can, and don't give up. That's my advice.
Yeah, I'd say be easy to work with is a huge one, especially when you start. Well, even when you are a local band, the promoters have to like you, and and just be easy to work with, and be spend as much time like with your fans as possible. Like after the show, hang out with them. Don't ever act like you're too good for them, because they're the ones who are gonna end up writing your paycheck. So like take advantage of opportunities. Don't think any opportunities are beneath you. Like I said, if we had stopped playing, so we played that beach bar like 100 times over a few years. If we had played it like 10 and decided we're too good for this, then we would have never gotten the Chicago tour. Then who knows, So that's what I could say is be open-minded and just work your ass off, and be someone people want to work with.